why your HubSpot lead scoring is broken, and how to fix it. If your sales team is complaining that HubSpot leads are garbage, but your marketing team swears that the lead scoring is working perfectly, you've got a broken lead scoring system. I'm Bryce Finnerty, and I fix this exact problem for hundreds of companies. Today, I'm going to show you why 90% of HubSpot lead scoring setups are worthless, and exactly how to fix yours. Here's what I see at every company. Marketing sets up lead scoring based on generic best practices, like someone downloads a white paper, that's 10 points. They visit the pricing page, that's 20 points. They submit a contact form, 50 points. Does that sound familiar? Okay, so we created our own framework based on customer buying intent and the customer journey, as well as the deal lifecycle journey. They're two different things, and I'm going to go over that here shortly. And so last month I was auditing a client's HubSpot setup, and they were so proud of their leads and their lead scoring. Everything looked perfect in the interface. But when I looked at their actual results, here's what I found. The hot leads were worth 100 points, but they were just converting at 3%. So these really highly rated leads were very low converting. But their cold leads with low scores were converting much higher at 12%. The problem wasn't the leads. It was their lead scoring system was measuring the wrong thing. They were scoring activity instead of intent, and instead of scoring the customer itself. And it was killing their sales team's productivity. They were focused on the wrong things because of the scoring algorithm. So here's the real problem. I'm going to share my screen and do a demo and show you an example of some broken setups, okay? And then I'm going to show you the 3 biggest mistakes I see in every HubSpot lead scoring setup. Number 1, they're scoring on activity instead of intent. What I mean by this is we're seeing the activity, like the leads coming in. Everyone's happy. This is a high point. But that doesn't mean these are good leads. They score the form submissions the same. Like every lead kind of starts off the same. But there really is no difference between what campaign or piece of content. The problem is we have set up all this content and pages for top of funnel, middle of funnel, and bottom of funnel. And so we have to watch out that all activity doesn't get scored the same. Like all email clicks get the same points. That could be a huge problem. It could be just someone's behavior. They either do or don't like to read emails, and you're mistaking them opening all their emails for a high score. So we're kind of looking at the leads coming in, and this can create a lot of false positives. So let me really show you. Everyone's excited all these leads came in. But these leads are on an ebook. This is much lower buying intent than leads that come in wanting to invest right off the bat. So there's only 3 on these, but these are much higher quality leads because they came in through this funnel ready to invest, okay? And so you have to really watch out. You can't just score the number of leads or even their engagement, or even if they want to receive text messages or not. It's really their attitude on privacy. One we do score them on is accredited, but people also lie. So no one wants to say you're accredited, even if you are. That's basically an investor worth over $1 million in net worth. Often people who aren't say they are, and often people who are say they aren't. So we have to verify even before we score some of this data. You have to be careful about generic scoring. And we can see that the leads coming in here, accredited versus non-accredited, but we need a human to talk to them so that we know who they really are, assign a score. And then we also have different campaigns set up. And I'm going to show you more about that. It said there's campaigns for different parts of the funnel. And so let me just show you all the ways we score a lead. And it's not just a lead. So let me show you about the attribution problem. If we don't have UTM tracking parameters, we know certain leads are better than others based on what campaign or ad they saw. For example, if it's a Google retargeting ad, you could be retargeting a CEO who's coming back. That should have a higher score than a student who just came in from cold traffic and can't even afford to invest with you. And so if you're not integrating the ads, UTM tracking parameters, and what campaign it is for where they are in the funnel or the buying journey, then your lead scoring system is completely wrong. Let me give you more examples. This is literally the HubSpot lead scoring page. What do you see here is that a contact can have a combined score that's like up to 100, but there's also an engagement score. They might be really well qualified, but they just don't engage. That means they're too busy to read your stuff, or they don't like to text with you. So they may not be that engaged based on the behaviors. And then the fit is they might be super engaged, but they can't afford your service, or they're not qualified. So we need to marketing qualify and sales qualify qualify them is kind of the key. And that's all around a contact. And I'll show you that here in just a moment, how we can qualify them. But also a company. If you're selling B2B, the company also needs to be qualified. And the company itself can have a score for all the people in the company, how well they like shopping you. You can even target certain accounts, and you can even do iterative operations to help what they call account-based marketing, so that you just target, like if you're trying to get into Amazon, you want to target all kinds of roles at Amazon. There's also this notion of a deal. Once they are interested, now they get into the deal pipeline. So we have to be scoring both the contact, the company, and now the deal itself. How likely is the deal to close? That's when they show buying intent and they say, yeah, I'm interested, let's go. And they want to go through the sales pipeline now, what we call the art of a deal. So there's really two scoring. There's deal scoring and scoring of the contact themselves. And so I want to show you another thing that's confusing to everybody. The activity that you might be confusing is, we know what campaign they're in. They might be reading your emails, looking at your social posts, clicking on ads, going to your events, filling out forms, clicking buttons. But that doesn't mean they're ready to buy. In fact, I've shopped companies for decades and have no intention of buying from them, but I like learning from them. So sometimes you're tracking this thinking it's a high value lead, when we really have to be tracking what we see more here. Is it from our target account in the sales menu in HubSpot? Target account, how did we prospect with them? Are they filling out any documents? Are they coming to meetings? That's a big indicator. Are they coming to the meeting, or did they no-show? Are they coming to our sales calls? Are they following up? Are they going through our sequences? Then we know that we can see they are taking steps in the buying process, and that should lead to revenue. That's how you should be scoring leads, how they march through the buying process. So we mentioned campaigns. So let me just pull up campaigns real quick. This is investing in a real estate fund. This is investing in general. And this is just, they want to invest with their 401k. So usually people are not in that big of a rush to invest with their 401k, but some people want to get in on a real estate deal. And so these leads are much hotter because of the campaign they're in. And we can literally see what the UTM tracking parameters are. We can see all the revenue attributed to that campaign, how many sessions and how many contacts. And so these would be a more highly scored group of contacts because we know they came in through this campaign. And so when we go look at this, I'll show you that marketing qualified, sales qualified. So now that we're in here, we can see how they came in. They saw an ad, what page they looked at. Then they looked at the ebook. They started shopping around. Another ad, another ebook, downloaded the ebook twice, looked at some more pages, got the SMS text sequence, got the ebook workflow. We sent them the ebook and nurture sequence, put them on the ebook list, put them in the ebook workflow, and then we sent out the ebook to them. And now we can track all this activity they're doing and figure out how engaged they are. But when we do get to talk to them, we can fill out if they are ready to invest and look at the lead stages. In the beginning, they can just subscribe, and that's very passive, low score. If they took engagement and filled out a form, that's a lead. But then marketing has to qualify them, like, did they bounce or opt out? So there's marketing qualified leads, or was it spam? You disqualify spam leads. And then when you talk to the salesperson and the salesperson talks to them, that's a sales qualified lead. Now, they said they could be interested. They are the right type of person who could invest. If they're interested, then we create an opportunity. They're ready to invest. Now we put them into the deal pipeline, but not yet. Most people take every lead and make it a deal. No, it's only like 3% of leads turn into deals. So typically your deal metrics are totally off and your pipeline metrics are totally off because everyone's throwing everything in there for no reason. We also said point number 3, disqualification. Okay, so right here, if we're like, you know what, they're not qualified, we can disqualify them. And so you will see this all the time. These old leads have very high scores, never getting disqualified. And it's kind of funny. We train the new sales guys on this. We give them all the old leads knowing they're never going to buy and they're dead because they're old. So you can automatically like write scripts to go through all the old leads and disqualify them. If they're interested, they'll come back and HubSpot will just reopen or re-engage with them. But for now, you should treat them as dead because they are not engaged in the buying process. My favorite though is an actual customer. The easiest person to sell is an existing customer. So when an existing customer comes back, you should treat them like royalty. They're already a customer and they're more likely to buy again. That should be your highest behavior, scoring behavior as a hot lead. And someone who buys more than once is an evangelist. They're raving fans. You can sell them anything. They love you. And so this is what I mean by scoring the life cycle of a lead. It's different than the life cycle of the deal. So don't miss this, okay? It's the most important point about this video. The fix. Well, I pretty much just showed you the fix. You need to have stages for your customer life cycle. And so what I call step one, get intent-based scoring. And it's basically what I showed you, but they're showing intent by booking meetings, taking the next steps, walking through the customer journey, and walking through the deal stages. Those are intent. They're reaching out. They're calling you. They're sending follow-up emails, not you. They're taking activity. We score based on their engagement. And then we mentioned about the campaigns before. In marketing, all these are components of a campaign. A campaign, we can then see which campaigns are for which part of the funnel, and the example I gave of Google. So if we retarget someone and they come back, that's good. That's a hot lead. And so maybe if they just went to a webinar, that's a low lead. But if they're ready to start investing, again, that's a good lead. And we can tell from the attribution where they came from, what landing pages they came from, what are they looking at when they come back in, and we're getting smarter and smarter based on the campaign and what they're consuming. Now it makes sense to look at their engagement and what content they're looking at. So remember, you need this attribution integration so that you know exactly what campaign they came from. I have another video about attribution, so if you haven't seen that one, go look at that. And then we mentioned step 3 that we call the dynamic decay and disqualification. If they've gone cold and we can't re-engage them, typically you just nurture them politely, but don't treat them like a hot lead. They should be disqualified as they age out. And I showed you how you could just set them to disqualified a few minutes ago. Okay, so when you fix your lead scoring the right way, here's what happens next. The lead to opportunity conversion rates typically improve 40 to 60% because you're really focused on the right leads now, not the wrong leads. And you can actually predict which leads will close. So now your forecasts and your pipeline modeling starts to make sense. Do you ever just look at your pipeline and be like, there's no way any of that's closing? Also, the beauty is marketing can prove the ROI down to the individual campaigns, or what they call return on advertising spend. Because now we know what ads brought in the customers that took the buying behavior and become customers. And we use integration with the ad engines to connect that stage in the life cycle back to Meta and Google. So we're training Meta and Google to find better customers. We're also training them who's not a good customer by disqualifying people. So the difference between broken and working lead scoring is the difference between guessing and knowing which leads will buy. So here's your call to action. I put together the exact lead scoring framework I use, including the intent signals to track, the attribution setup, and the decay formulas. You can grab it in the link below, okay? But if you want this actually implemented in your HubSpot, instead of trying to figure it out, the technical setup yourself, if this demo was kind of overwhelming, that's what we do at Deal Flow Dynamics. We build the revenue systems that coaches only talk about, but we will actually build them for you. So please book a revenue clarity call below, and we can audit your current lead scoring and show you exactly where it's broken and how to fix it. Thanks.